let me tell you what's happening right now. We are filming this class. Let me explain to y'all why we're filming this class. Remember at the beginning of the semester I asked every single one of you, so don't look at the camera. We're going to be natural today. All right, so remember I had all of you all take a survey and I talked to you about this classroom and how it was a unique classroom and that we got a grant for it, and the survey was going to help us to prove why this classroom is so important. Well, in addition to hard data, we also want qualitative data and some visuals, and today is going to be an example of a visual. So it's perfect timing because the dates that our videographer was available. Everybody give it up for Monty. What is your last name?
Darling.
Mr. Darling. Everybody give it up for Darling. He's relatively new here at Lone Star College and was more than willing to videotape this for us. He's actually going to take all of the footage, splice it together, and make a really cool video. So Jade asked if we're going to be able to watch this a little later on, and I'll make sure that we get a chance to view it. So, so with all that being said, we're going to use every single means of technology today. And going back to what I said a moment ago, it being perfect timing. So multiple intelligences is what we're going to talk about today. Next class, we're going to talk about critical thinking, and then we're going to segue into note-taking, test-taking, and then really begin to dig into career stuff. So we're going to spend a lot of time, probably around a month, focusing on careers. So if you haven't had a chance to peruse the course calendar, we are right on track. What I need everybody to do right now is log into D2L, and we're going to begin today's lesson taking an assessment. So it is called the Multiple Intelligences Assessment. How are you smart? So all of us are intelligent human beings. Some of us are more smart in different ways than others, and today we're going to explore what that is. If you look on the boards, I've pulled out all of the different types of intelligences, and I'll explain those in detail in a moment, but let me mention them. You have linguistic, logical, mathematical, spatial, bodily, kinesthetic. Interpersonal and intrapersonal was connected to what model that we talked about. You had a quiz over it, the Baron model. Good, so those two things are going to come up again, and then naturalistic. So what y'all going to do right now, log into D2L, there's assess. What I need you to do is grab a marker and write on the board where you fall. So if you found out that you are, and I'll use myself for an example. So I am intrapersonally smart. I am also interpersonally smart.
It's going to give you multiple ones?
It's going to give you multiple ones. And I'm also musically smart. I sure as heck am not spatially smart. So remember I told you about how bad I get lost? So that doesn't work well for me. I think that I'm pretty good in connecting with people, and it's the nature of my job. So I talk about music a lot in this class. So that's definitely connected to me. So I need music to do anything. Work out, read, write, and then intrapersonal. I'm pretty connected with who I am and use my own talents and abilities to make sense of stuff. So what you're going to do as a group is you are going to think about all 8 intelligences. Listen up. So on one, you're going to blank sheet of paper. So pull up a blank Word document. I want to see, listen up. Listen up. I want to see a blank Word document at the top of it, as big as you can put it. I want to see the sport that you have identified that I've given you, right? So one has basketball, one has football, the other has pool. Below that, I want you to write 1 through 8. That's going to represent all the intelligences. For number 1, I want you to write linguistic and then dash. All right? So what you're going to do, 1 through 8, you're going to tell me, based on the way in which these people are smart, how you would teach them to play the sport. And you can't use any of the examples that I gave you. It's all right.
You know, when
Lean on your team.
What's linguistic? Where just explain it, like going to the basket or whatever. No, and the first one is linguistic. You're gonna explain it. I don't think you would just teach like you just write up and turn.
Like we have to do all of them?
For logical and mathematical. Yeah, we got to go. I'm talking about where we're going. Oh, we're doing order. I just didn't want it for you. Explain the place.
Explain it.
Plays are mathematical because they have to follow this way.
What's my phone symbols? The book.
Ball in the hole. That's it.
I was on
Like play by play. Like what was it? The coach explains like
How did you know? Isn't it starting on tip-off?
Tip-off.
All right.
All right. What happens before that? The players walk out on the court. landing points of the game. We'll also visualize for the rest of the day, we'll see like a mental picture in their head. So if you were to teach somebody who's spatially intelligent, in addition to showing them a pool table, what could you say to them? Since you're trying to instruct them on how to play. Good. Imagine a pool table and imagine, visualize this. So, ladies, explain to us how you would teach somebody to play pool based on the 8 multiple intelligence.
For linguistic, you can talk to them about the sport and they can report it, because it's all about language. Logical and mathematical, how you hit the ball, and it's related to physics and geometry. Spatial, you can show them a pool table and explain why it's structured the way it is, and tell them to imagine a pool table and visualize their moves. Bodily is make them actually play the sport. And musical, play music while instructing, like go to a bar or something like that. And interpersonal, make them play in a group. Intrapersonal, make them play alone. Naturalistic, play somewhere with lots of windows or an open area.
Good job.
One of the things that I want to ask you all, I've given you all a hard copy, but I've also allowed you all to work on the computer to kind of use some of the skills that we've been learning. So just really quickly, I would like a little feedback. How many of you would like to comment on the advantages of being in this room over, let's say, a traditional classroom?
Pay attention with the computers. If I was in a classroom just sitting there doing notes, I'd probably zone out.
Okay.
And not get my work done.
Okay.
This is actually kind of helped me like with my everyday actual job too.
Okay.
I just started like new positioning. This actually helps me out a lot with it.
Good, and you were a little timid in the beginning, so you think you're getting a little more comfortable? How many of you feel are more confident, just to show of hands, more confident using the computer, just the computer in general, as a result of this class? Okay. And by show of hands, how many of you have learned at least one more tool that you could use maybe in the real world or in your everyday life based on this class? How many of you have learned a new tool? Okay, good. So the class is working so far.
Well, I like this class because I have the computer in front of me, and normally if it was just a normal teacher giving a lecture, I would probably be, either zoned out or asleep like I did in high school, which isn't good. But now I'm like interacting with the class more because of the new, the computers and everything. And I feel like I'm actually I've never been good at English, but now it's like I can get my work done, and I feel like I'm actually, doing really good with my new studies.
I like this class because if I was in a regular class writing handwritten notes, I would probably be bored and zone out, and I'd probably be failing this class. But now I have a computer on me, and it's much easier for me, and my grade's better than ever in my English class.
This class has helped me with a lot of my work. I wasn't too good at English, but since the computers are there and it's more efficient to upload your work.
Yeah, I just started a new job and I'm working in an office now, and it actually helps me a huge amount with learning everything that I'm doing at work too. So yeah, it's helped out a lot.
What is unrealistic about the violence in cartoons? We all know the violence in cartoons and television shows and movies is unrealistic, right? So now you're going to answer that and be more specific. So why is it unrealistic? Because someone gets an anvil dropped on their head and then gets back up. It's going to happen in real life if you get an anvil dropped on your head. You're not getting back up, okay? So that would answer that one. The violence may be realistic, and I would even argue that it's not really, but there's no blood, pain, or mutilation after getting an anvil dropped on your head. So that's a really good question. That one would lead right into that sentence. Can violence be realistic even if there is no accompanying realistic blood, pain, or mutilation? That's more about sentence 3. You could even shorten that one. So can violence be realistic? I would even take off this part because you're going to end up with that in your answer. Can violence be realistic?